what we do in life echoes in eternity. While I sincerely hope not, given the low quality of this podcast. I'm Sean Burton.
And I'm Oliver Woodings.
He is
Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife.
And this is Review Avenue Streetlight. Well, that is what you get when you ask Oliver to come up with an opening for once.
Yep. Short and sweet. Absolute genius. That's what it is.
This is not a low quality podcast. This is the highest quality podcast you're going to get, and that's why you're listening.
Yeah.
In this episode, we're going to take you back to a time where men fought to the death in front of thousands of spectators baying for their blood. A time where only the strongest survive. A time where Oliver and I wouldn't even last a day. We're talking about Ridley Scott's 2000 historical epic, Gladiator. You a fan of this one?
I was.
Have I caught you off guard with a question?
Yeah, you have. I was a big fan of it, I thought. And I still am. But rewatching it, I couldn't believe this is like 20 years old now as well. But yeah, this rewatch, still a fan, but I have complaints. A few complaints. What about yourself?
I'm going to go with that one as well. My opinion on it has changed probably pretty dramatically from the first few times I've seen it to this time, of which the reasons there are many, which we'll get into. But we're going to start with the
info.
Production notes.
The info.
Yeah.
The stuff that everyone's here for, really.
They are on it. They don't want to hear what we have to say about it. They want us to read the IMDb page of Gladiator. That's what they want.
We do it. Well, you do it, so they don't have to.
It was directed by Ridley Scott, who you may know from 1979's Alien, who's a director of that. Also directed 1982's Blade Runner, 1991's Thelma and Louise, and followed up Gladiator with 2001's Hannibal. More recently, though, he was known for 2012's Prometheus and a sequel of sorts to Alien with 2017's Alien Covenant.
Oh, God.
Don't like that one? I still haven't seen that one. I liked Alien and Aliens, even Alien 3 and Resurrection. But I haven't seen...
What did you think of Prometheus, then?
I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
Okay.
The only thing I remember of Prometheus is working the opening night, and we had issues with the projector.
Nice. Wasn't that like one of the last films to be projected in, like, on actual film?
I think it was, yeah. I think that's why it was a big issue, because it was one of the last few to not be like full digital, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we had an issue with the lights as well. They kept going down and up at various points of the film.
Prometheus works better if you don't think of it as an Alien film at all.
I won't.
But
I'll
yeah,
probably never see it.
Is so bad. It's god awful.
But with Gladiator, Ridley Scott was enticed to take the role of director here by a painting that he saw. Jean-Léon Gérôme's 1872 painting called Pollice Verso, or Thumbs Down. I can't do an accent, so you could probably... It's a French, I think. But it depicts a gladiator with his foot on the throat of his opponent, looking up at a Colosseum crowd that are indicating to kill him. So that painting is what
that's kind of cool.
spurred.
That's all it took. You just looked at a painting and thought, let's get Russell Crowe. Just ring him up.
Well, speaking of which, with the collaborations of Crowe and Scott, they worked together quite a lot in the 2000s, and I could picture a few, but when actually looking into the roles that the projects they worked on together, he starred in 4 of Ridley Scott films in as many years. So there was 2006's wine drama, A Good Year.
Never
If you're trying to think, okay, I think of some others then.
What other ones can you think of? Gangster, he was in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's the next one, 2007.
Robin Hood.
That was 2010. There's one between those two.
Is it that Matchstick Men? I know he directed that.
No,
I don't know.
Not.
I don't know the other one.
Body of Lies.
Oh, yeah, of course.
With Leonardo
forgettable
DiCaprio.
film. No wonder I think.
So 4 films in 4 years with the Scott and Crow
Probably because
collaboration.
this was so successful, wasn't it? Gladiator, you thought, like, this is... stick with the formula.
Yeah, I think Crow works well with Scott.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Obviously, the main star here is Russell Crowe. He plays Maximus, the celebrated general of the Northern Armies. He stars with Joaquin Phoenix, which I have pronounced correctly because we did go over this before we started.
I taught you how to say Joaquin.
So he stars as Commodus, who is Marcus Aurelius' son. Marcus Aurelius being the leader of Rome at the time. He's ailing, though, isn't he? He's quite ill.
Yeah, he's like the emperor, but he's dying, isn't he?
He's played by Richard Harris.
One of his last roles, isn't it? That and Harry Potter.
And there is also Connie Nielsen, who plays Lucilla, who is Marcus Aurelius' daughter and Commodus' sister.
She's actually more of the brains behind the both of them, isn't she?
And we've also got Oliver Reed, who plays Proximo, who is Maximus's owner and a former gladiator himself. So the main story of Gladiator is Maximus being this celebrated general. He's just won another battle. He thinks it's going to be one of his last ones. Marcus Aurelius calls him into his tent. Well, it's not really a tent. It's like an office, isn't it? It's got
They've laid
busts and
gravel down
trophies
and everything.
Yeah. But he calls him into his quarters and gives him the power of Rome, basically. He passes on. Aurelius, knowing that he's coming to the end of his life, wants
he doesn't
Maximus.
want his son to be emperor, essentially.
There is one more duty that I ask of you before you go home.
What would you have me do, Caesar?
I want you to become the protector of Rome after I die. I will empower you to one end alone, to give power back to the people of Rome and end the corruption that has crippled it. Will you accept this great honor that I have offered you?
With all my heart, no.
Maximus, that is why it must be you.
But surely a prefect, a senator, somebody who knows the city, who understands her politics.
But you have not been corrupted by her politics.
And Commodus?
Commodus is not a moral man. You have known that since you were young. Commodus cannot rule. He must not rule.
Commodus, who just turns up out of nowhere. Have I missed the battle? He's turned up knowing he's missed it. Yeah, he knows he's missed it. And Aurelius is far more into Maximus, to the dismay of Commodus. And Commodus then kills his father, taking control. Because how does it happen that nobody hears this? Is it just taken upon himself that he's going to be the emperor now?
But he didn't tell anyone else, did he? So I think everyone just assumed once Richard Harris died that it would be Joaquin Phoenix who takes over.
Commodus, who has seen Aurelius's admiration for Maximus, orders Maximus to be executed, to ride until dawn with his guards and execute him, just to pretty much get him out of the way so he has full rule of Rome.
It all happens very fast, doesn't it? That?
Yeah. The execution doesn't go as planned. Maximus fights his way out of it and rides to his home where his wife and son have been brutally slain.
His house has been burnt down and everything. It's all gone.
And he passes out and is picked up by a slave owner, transported to a marketplace in Morocco, I believe, and sold on to Proximo.
To be trained as a gladiator, isn't he? That's the whole deal.
Yeah, he's trained as a gladiator, and his goal then is to work his way through the arenas to reach Commodus again.
Yeah.
You were a gladiator?
Yes, I was.
You won your freedom?
A long time ago, the Emperor presented me with a rudius. It's just a wooden sword. A symbol of your freedom. He touched me on the shoulder, and I was free.
You knew Marcus Aurelius?
I did not say I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
You ask me what I want. I too want to stand in front of the Emperor. As you did.
Then listen to me. Learn from me. I wasn't the best because I killed quickly. I was the best because the crowd loved me. Win the crowd, and you'll win your freedom.
I will win the crowd. I will give them something they've never seen before.
Gladiator premiered in Los Angeles on the 1st of May 2000, and it was released theatrically in the United States on the 5th of May and in the UK on the 11th of May. And it opened in 2,938 theatres, peaking at showing on 3,056 screens from the 2nd of June 2000. And its opening weekend, it earned $34.8 million, and it took the top spot for its first 2 weeks. It was one of two wide releases for the 5th of May, with the other being Sony's adventure pick, I Dreamed of Africa, which I admittedly have not heard of. So no. Easy number one spot there for Gladiator, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was knocked to number 2 from the 19th of May by the debut of Disney's Dinosaur.
Oh, God, yeah. I remember seeing that.
So this was Disney's first ever
First CG,
all-computer animated
yeah.
movie. Yeah. A solo one anyway, because obviously they acquired Pixar by 2000 with things with like Toy Story, but
yeah, up until then, that animation studio had just done traditional like 2D animation, wasn't it?
Dinosaur would also be the most expensive film of 2000, with an estimated budget topping nearly $200 million.
Oof. Have you seen Dinosaur?
I have not. No.
No. Oh,
Have you?
It's got like a really I saw it when I was little down in Longton Town Hall, where they used to put on like films there in the summer.
You're giving our location away now.
Yeah, I could have visited. I could have been on holiday to Longton.
No, nobody visits that town.
But yeah, I saw it there, and it's got like a really terrifying opening scene for children, especially. And I've got a vivid memory of that, being scared in Longton Town Hall.
The Gladiator's production budget was listed as $103 million, and it spent an astonishing 50 weeks at the US box office, closing with a total of $187 million. Internationally, it impressed with $270 million for an overall take of $457.6 million. It was the 4th highest grossing film of the year 2000. Any guesses on what beats it out?
Dinosaur?
No, surprisingly.
No. What else was it? It was not The Matrix. So that was 99, wasn't it?
Nothing. No guesses.
Castaway. No, I don't know.
Correct in one of them. Yes, that does not count as a later point for the quiz, though. So don't get 0, and that counts as a point. But yeah, Castaway was one of them, but it wasn't number 1. Castaway was number 2.
What was number 1?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Toy Story 2.
No, The Grinch. But it's kids still. There's always going to be kids, isn't it? Most of the time, most of the kids. But Mission Impossible 2 was number 3.
Oh, God.
There was less than $200,000 between 5th and 6th place, with rom-com What Women Want only just edging ahead of The Perfect Storm.
Wow.
So $200,000 difference between 5th and 6th. But the story itself was inspired by a 1958 book called Those About to Die by Daniel P. Mannix. And the first draft of the script was based a lot on the book. And I want to talk quite a bit about the script because there is 3 credited script writers to Gladiator.
Usually not a good sign.
No, it means a lot of rewrites, doesn't it?
So yeah, sometimes it can be fine. Like there are occasions where there's a bunch of writers and it still turns out great, but usually it's a bit like, oh, hang on. If there's more than 2, it gets a bit dicey sometimes.
The first draft was written by David Franzoni, who came up with the story from the book. He sort of adapted it. He also wrote Steven Spielberg's 1997 historical drama Amistad. And based on the success of that film, he was given a 3-picture writer and co-producer deal from DreamWorks, which, as we've heard in previous podcast episodes, giving people 3-picture deals... M. Night Shyamalan is never a good sign.
It's not the 50s anymore. Like, you don't have people on contract. Stop doing it.
He would also go on to write 2004's King Arthur, starring Keira Knightley. But Ridley Scott felt that the script was too unsubtle with the dialogue and hired John Logan to rewrite. And up to this point, John Logan had only written 2 theatrical features, both released in 1999. There was the horror film Bats and Oliver Stone's sports drama Any Given Sunday. He did also write 2 TV movies, though. 1996's self-explanatory Tornado and 1999's dramatic retelling of the troubled Citizen Kane production in RKO 281, which I think they probably got hired more for his latter film in 281 rather than Tornado.
Yeah.
Hire somebody from Gladiator based on a Tornado film.
I'd like to see what that original script was that wasn't very subtle, because I don't know, the script that they've got isn't that subtle.
No. But Logan would go on to pen hits such as The Last Samurai, The Aviator, Sweeney Todd, Rango, Hugo, 2 Bond films with Skyfall and Spectre, and the TV series Penny Dreadful.
Bloody hell, he's done all right then, eh?
And he worked with Scott again for rewrites of Alien Covenant.
Oh no, he hasn't done well.
Yeah.
Screw him.
Wind that back in. But the script issues did not end when Logan came on board. Weeks before filming, cast members were unhappy with what they had to work with, and another writer was brought in. His name was William Nicholson, and he rewrote Maximus to be a more sensitive character, and the afterlife storyline that is weaved into the main narrative.
Oh, yeah. I'm thankful for that, because I think that's one of the best bits. Like the best. It's the thing that got me most emotionally invested was sort of the afterlife stuff.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to see a film about a man who just wanted to kill somebody. It does make sense, because take the afterlife stuff away, or any kind of
like
motive.
No emotion in it.
None at all. According to a DreamWorks executive, Crowe himself would question the evolving script incessantly and storm off set when he didn't get any answers.
Sounds like it could have been a bit of a rough production then, because I know Oliver Reed didn't get on with Crowe as well, apparently.
Yeah, I did read. Do you know any more about that?
I don't know why. I can't find any information about it, but I just apparently he didn't like him. But Oliver Reed was like notorious Hellraiser anyway, so he didn't like a lot of people.
Crowe reportedly tried to rewrite the script on the spot with a major line of, "I'll have my vengeance in this life or the next." He was refusing to say it initially. And in Crowe's words on the TV show Inside the Actor's Studio in 2004, he said, "I read the script and it was substantially underdone. Even the character didn't exist on the pages. And that set about a long process. That's probably the first time I've been in a situation where the script wasn't a complete done deal. We actually started shooting with about 32 pages and went through them in the first couple of weeks. Here was a situation where we got to Morocco with a crew of 200 and a cast of 100 or whatever, and I didn't have anything to learn. I actually didn't know what the scenes were going to be. We had, I think, 1 American writer working on it, 1 English writer working on it, and of course, a group of producers who are also adding their ideas, and then Ridley himself. And then on occasion, I'd be doing my own stuff as well. And this is how things like Strength and Honor came up, and At My Signal, Unleash Hell came up. The name Maximus Decimus Meridius, it just flowed well. It does sound pretty awful, doesn't it, to be working on a film that has no script, really. But as I said, the subtlety, that was one of the main things. That it was pretty much from the start. What it felt like with Gladiator was it was always trying to come up with these catchphrases and quotes.
Yeah, I tell you what, the worst one is. Do you know the bit where he's about to be executed, and then he like fights and breaks free, and then he says like a cool Arnie kind of, or just like an action star line about the frost being
makes the blade stick.
Yeah, the frost making the blade stick. I was like, oh my God, it just sounds like a completely different film.
Yeah. But I've just made a list of a few of them, and there was People Should Know When They're Conquered, At My Signal, Unleash Hell, What We Do in Life Echoes Eternity, which we opened with. Dirt Cleans Off a Lot Easier Than Blood. We Mortals Are Nothing More Than Shadow and Dust. Shadow and Dust. They're just they're just lines that don't sound like dialogue. They don't sound like people talking. They just. And somehow it got nominated for the screenplay Oscar. Yeah. That was one of the ones that it was nominated for, but obviously didn't win it. But this thing, the script is one of the big issues with Gladiator.
I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like some of the lines, I feel like they kind of work for like the whole thing that it's going for, and it's quite like an archetypical story. So it's not like, I don't know. It's kind of in conflict with itself, with it being trying to be realistic, but also being this very straight, easy cut kind of archetypical story where I don't think it knows quite where it wants to be, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because along with the story of Maximus, it does try and intertwine the idea of Roman politics with senators and the emperors and everything else behind that. And then there's a very romantic, all the stuff with Maximus is like just very romantic, like movie lines or whatever, isn't it? Like all that stuff. But then you got all this like political intrigue, which is taken pretty seriously and done with as much realism as I imagine they could have done.
For your guidance, Caesar, the Senate has prepared a series of protocols to begin addressing the many problems in the city. Beginning with basic sanitation for the Greek quarter, to combat the plague which is already springing up there. So, if Caesar...
Shh. Don't you see, Gracchus? It's the very problem, isn't it? My father spent all his time at study, at books, and learning and philosophy. He spent his twilight hours reading scrolls from the Senate. And all the while, the people were forgotten.
But the Senate is the people, sire. Chosen from among the people to speak for the people.
I doubt many of the people eat so well as you do, Gracchus. Or have such splendid mistresses, Gaius. I think I understand my own people.
Then perhaps Caesar will be so good as to teach us, out of his own extensive experience.
I call it love. I am their father. The people are my children. And I shall hold them to my bosom and embrace them tightly.
Have you ever embraced someone dying of plague, sire?
No. But if you interrupt me again, I assure you that you shall.
I do like that they didn't put too much emphasis on a relationship between Lucilla and Maximus, because I think it would have diluted his cause of his drive for the most of this was that, as you just mentioned, with the afterlife storyline, seeing his wife again, and the fact that they were murdered and he's still around. He's completely
broken, isn't he? It's like, why would he just get off with this other woman? Which apparently they actually liked him in the past or something. Oh, we should also probably say that we watched different versions of the film. We haven't mentioned that.
I went for the theatrical cut and Oliver saw the extended edition.
Yeah, because I thought it's not long enough.
We did compare the differences, and there isn't that much that affects the film greatly. There was one scene.
What's her name again? Lucille, is it?
Lucilla.
Did she kiss Russell Crowe in your version?
Yes, he's sort of strung up in the prison.
You love your son. You're strong for him.
I am tired of being strong. My brother hates all the world, and you most of all.
Because your father chose me.
No. Because my father loved you. And because I loved you.
A long time ago.
Was I very different then?
You laughed more.
I have felt alone all my life. Except with you.
One scene that we did say that didn't was discussion of Rome and how they were going to fund all this. But on the whole, it doesn't sound like the extended edition really makes too much of a difference, does it?
I feel like there was a bit of a plot hole, though, or it might be a plot hole in the theatrical version, maybe. When Maximus is going to be executed near the beginning, when Commodus takes control, Maximus escapes and kills all the guards. And it's never explained how Commodus doesn't know about this, I think, in the theatrical version. Is that correct? Like, Commodus never knows that Maximus has escaped, which is a bit weird, isn't it? Like, surely they would know that the guards are dead, and
he doesn't know it. The only time he knows is when it's revealed in the arena.
Yeah. But it's a little bit clumsy, but it's one of the things that I did think about. I was like, why has no one gone back and told Commodus that either he's escaped or just something's happened? Like, there's just been no confirmation that he's died or he's anything. And it does happen much later in the film, in the extended version. And what happens is that apparently some guards came across the massacre, all the dead guards that with Russell Crowe not there. And they apparently just came back and said Russell Crowe was dead. They found the bodies and it was a barbarian attack.
Okay.
And that's the reasoning. And then these two soldiers that said this get executed later on in the film. But it's so late on in the film where it's like, why are we going back to this? Like, surely this should have been done earlier. It's really odd placement in the film. Like, it's in the last half an hour, I think.
I think it works better that it isn't in there. I think the reveal where he doesn't know, even if he hasn't been told. As far as we know, there are two separate lines that are on the path to collision where they do meet, where Commodus goes down to the arena and asks him to remove his helmet, and then he says about who he is. Like, before that, there's no mention of it, and I do think it works better that way because it takes him off guard as much as it does. It's supposed to take us off guard.
I think it wouldn't have been hard to fix if they actually showed that. Like, if you could have just done a quick scene of some guards coming across all the dead Romans and then going back to Commodus and lying about it because they were scared or whatever. They just said, "Oh yeah, there was a barbarian attack, but he's dead," and then you'd still have Commodus being surprised when he actually finds him in the arena.
Your fame is well-deserved, Spaniard. I don't think there's ever been a gladiator to match you. As for this young man, he insists you are Hector reborn. Or was it Hercules? Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us all your real name? You do have a name.
My name is Gladiator.
How dare you show your back to me? Slave! You will remove your helmet and tell me your name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix legions, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
I think in general with Gladiator, it sort of spurred a revival of interest in historical epics in the 2000s to about 2010s, doesn't it?
Yeah, we had Troy, didn't we?
Yeah, for like the next 10 years or so, there was, those you just mentioned, 2004 was Troy with Brad Pitt, The Last Samurai, Tom Cruise in 2003.
King Arthur.
300 in 2007. King Arthur, every year to ever exist, there's a King Arthur somewhere.
Well, yeah.
Including your Arthur and Merlin. And Scott would return to the genre with Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah, of course.
Orlando Bloom, which is one that is sort of infamous for having a director's cut or extended cut, which is much better than the theatrical. But possibly the most ambitious of the lot is Apocalyptica, which is spoken entirely in Mayan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
One of the South American ancient languages or whatever. Yeah, it's really good, that film. I love it.
I very, very, very vaguely remember seeing it.
It's ridiculously violent, isn't it?
I can't tell you anything about it, but I vaguely remember some of it.
If you're a stickler for historical accuracy stuff, I don't think it minds because it doesn't matter because the film's just a really good sort of thrilling action film. But I remember at the end of that film, spoilers for Apocalypse, the main character goes through the entire nearly being sacrificed and escaping and everything, and then he comes out to the ocean, and he's finally escaped. And what he sees is the Spanish arriving, from Spain or whatever, and they eventually obviously come to conquer and kill a lot of these tribes and everything. And that's like, it's so ridiculously like false, like with that Mayan tribe or whatever they are. It's like, it's something like 200 years late or 200 years early or something. I did read about it ages ago, and it's like, it's so inaccurate. It's like hilarious.
I'm going to correct my mistake of calling it Apocalyptico and just call it Apocalyptica. Okay, no, I can't even say it now.
What did I call it?
No, you said it right, which is Apocalypto. I said it wrong, which is becoming the norm.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apocalypto it's called, not Apocalyptico.
I think we're still living with it today. Like, I think most of these movies are in the shadow of Gladiator, which is, I think like a good thing to say about it. It's a very influential film. Like, all these movies since, they all kind of look like Gladiator. It was kind of the first one to go for that sort of more gritty, kind of real look rather than super colourful.
But with you mentioning the historical accuracy, when it comes to Gladiator, there's not a lot of accuracy in there. I am not a Roman history buff, but the guys at History Buffs are. So I did have a look at what is done correct and what isn't in Gladiator. The main thing is the character of Commodus is very different was very different in real life as he was portrayed in the film. His reign as an emperor was never really in question. He was always going to be the next in line. Marcus Aurelius was actually the one to put the policy back in place where it would have the male successor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because in the film he wants to go back to the Senate, doesn't he? Yeah,
and Commodus was brought along to battles from a young age to school him on how to strategize in battles and to rule the people. And at the age of 15, he became joint emperor with his father. And at the age of 19, he became the sole emperor. Whereas obviously the film is, he's supposedly been given the power to Maximus, when really it was always going to be Commodus. And he was apparently a very, very megalomaniacal man. It was all about him. He had no real intention of running the empire. He just wanted everything for himself. He'd put his name and things on money, and
nice.
he was not a great guy. And all these games were put on for his own entertainment. He did have battles, but as it is shown in Gladiator as well, his opponents were heavily handicapped with dull blades and severely under-equipped with their armor, and he's with like double blades and fully armored. The way that he was actually killed in the film, he's killed by Maximus with a knife in the throat, isn't he, towards the end? But in reality, it's documented that he would order the assassinations of people, or just in random. He just felt like it. And one day there was a list of people that he had that were on next on his sort of kill list, and he just left it lying around in his villa, and it was found by his mistress, and her name was at the top of the list. God. Together with the others' names who were on the list, they hatched a plan to kill him. Yeah, well, they convinced Commodus's gladiatorial trainer, Narcissus, to strangle him in his bath. And that's the way that Commodus met his end.
In his bath.
That information comes from the great channel of the History Buffs. So check those out for some more. I just bullet point those. Yeah, YouTube channel. I just bullet point the things about Commodus there. But if you want to check some more in depth, check out History Buffs. They've got some good stuff on there.
I was going to say, should we talk about Commodus a bit in the film? Joaquin Phoenix. Well, firstly, I think Joaquin steals the film. I think he gives the best performance. I don't know what you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Total agreement.
Yeah, he steals the film. And I also have some sympathy for him, more near the start, just because he's clearly, like, it's clear that his father's never loved him, and his father admits that just before he dies. And he's been neglected, and he's not been loved at all. Like, he's not had a good, happy childhood. I think it's quite clear. So I think there is some sympathy for him. Up until he does go absolutely mental, and he just keeps getting worse and worse. But I do think that it's like Richard Harris is like created this monster, rather than him just being he's just this evil son that's always been evil. And I do like that. I do think he's the most interesting character in the film.
Yeah, I can see that, mainly from, I said, in its opening where he arrives on the battle, and it's a deliberate move for him to turn up late, yeah, but when he sees his father and he asks him to take his arm, and his dad goes straight to Maximus
instead. That bit where he comes into him in the tent and he's like, "Are you ready to do your duty for Rome?" And he's like, "Yes, father." And he just blatantly says, "You will not be emperor." It's like, Jesus, what a way to lead him on.
But none of my virtues won your list. Even then, it was as if you didn't want me for your son.
Oh, Commodus. You go too far.
I searched the faces of the gods for ways to please you, to make you proud. One kind word, one full hug, where you pressed me to your chest and held me tight. Would have been like the sum of my heart for 1,000 years. What is this enemy you hate so much? All I've ever wanted was to live up to you. Caesar. Father.
Commodus? Your false as a son is my failure as a father.
Yeah, I think he's just a product of his upbringing, isn't he? He's obviously super privileged in everything. He probably, you don't really know about work and all this sort of stuff. And then he's been pampered all his life, but never really given attention by his father.
Well, he's never had, that's probably why he's trying to get love from the people of Rome. He doesn't know how to get that, because he tries the different ways with putting these games on, and he's trying to win them over with these big sort of brash gestures.
Because he doesn't know
and that's
what
not really what they're after.
Because he always did it with his father, didn't he? As well, like at the start, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll sacrifice 50 boars for you," or whatever. And he's always constantly trying, seeking validation, which he never gets. So I think he's quite a tragic character, really.
And with his sister as well, there's very, very heavy hints of a sort of incestuous thing on his part. And I think, again, that's just because he doesn't know how to show love in general. He's never had it. So to him, it's the physical affection towards sister, which is greatly inappropriate. Nothing ever really happens between them. You could just see her real uncomfortable sort of posture.
Yeah, it seems like it's probably happened in the past or something.
Maybe. But yeah, their relationship is a strained one. I didn't trust her at first, Lucille. I didn't trust her because she conspires a bit, or tries to conspire with Maximus. Yeah. In a coup to overthrow the emperor. And sometimes you hear the conversations between Commodus and Lucille, and you think maybe she is working with him to try and get rid of Maximus.
Was it revealed that she was giving information to Commodus's enemies around the middle mark in your version? Do you remember?
I don't think so. Who two?
Derek Jacobi and the other guy. I don't know their names. Beginning with G.
I know the senators. Yeah,
there's two of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if this might just be an extended version thing, but they're around the middle mark or whatever. She does go to them and talks. Oh yeah, I think we mentioned this. She goes to them and talks about how he's planning to sell off grain reserves.
That's not in my version. So this is all on you now.
Well, that just because you said you didn't really trust her, and I always kind of did, for the most part. But that's probably why. That's probably
because of that scene.
Yeah, it does happen. I don't know. It might be a bit before the middle, to be honest. It's not super far into the film. It's when they kind of first get to Rome and the start of all the politics happens. You do see her go to the Senate, and she's giving them information that obviously Commodus wouldn't want them to know.
But as you said, Joaquin really, really steals this and was massively overlooked for the Oscar for it. He was nominated but didn't win. He lost out against Benicio del Toro in Traffic. But I think he brings a lot more layers to the character than it would have had if it was absolutely anybody else. I think that the weaknesses of the script are sort of band-aided over at times by Phoenix's, even just his facial
he's good,
expressions.
He's fucking good. The scene where he strangles the strangles his father is brilliant, or like suffocates him. Did you know that he passed out after that scene?
No.
Yeah, apparently just because he's really like crying and like exerting himself, isn't he? In that scene, it's really good. But yeah, apparently he passed out after that just from being so exhausted.
I would put to the whole world if you would only love me.
Isn't there a scene later on where he is hugging Lucilla's son a similar way? It's only for a few seconds, but the son runs up to him, and this is just after the son claims that Maximus is going to be the savior of Rome. And there's it's not like a music rise or anything, but I just thought it was a nice sort of comparison that the same way of hugging
cool.
around
I didn't notice
around
that.
the head is like, that's how he killed his dad as well.
Yeah, because he keeps making threats to suggestive threats to Lucilla about her son, and that's why she can't out and out go against him.
Yeah, with it like sort of family loyalty as well, but at the same time, he is kind of like ruling over her with the threat of her life and her son's life.
I think he gives the best performance.
What about Maximus? What about Maximus in general? Do you like him as a guy? Do you root for him as your main man?
Good, but there is just a feeling of emptiness, I think, around Maximus. I felt this time, which I never really thought of before when I've seen it before. He's just a little bit dull.
Yeah,
I find it's not that much to him. I think the opening does a decent amount to make you like him in that opening battle scene. You know, how you see everyone respects him, and he makes like a joke before he rides out on that cavalry charge. And I think that start is quite good. But after his wife and child die, I mean, kind of understandably, just because he's not going to be happy.
The vacant shell of a human, isn't he?
Yeah,
but yeah, even so,
too vacant. I think.
Yeah, you'd need that bit of drive to see why he keeps going. But there's just times where he's just looking out into the middle of nowhere, just like really zoned out. And
yeah, like imagine Castaway. So speaking of another 2000 film, but if it was Russell Crowe being like that, stuck on an island, which it would be like in real life, but most likely, you're not going to be, super active, whatever. You're going to be depressed and vacant as hell. But you don't want that in the film. He's got to have summit, which he doesn't really. He doesn't even have much like camaraderie with his fellow gladiators. He tries a little bit to weave some of that stuff in, but it doesn't happen a lot.
No, I think that where he needs to sort of be rousing, it can work. As I said, with just before the first battle, and I think in the scene that we just mentioned about him taking his helmet off and the big reveal, and just that sequence in general, that Colosseum battle in general, I do really enjoy. I think for me that is probably the highlight of the film, with the chariots.
Yeah.
And then just everything works.
The people on the chariots were the women.
I noticed. There was a few women on there, which I didn't find anywhere in like making of or anything, whether it would be a sort of an interesting point that they were using women for this.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was whether they just had like female breastplates on or whatever, like the armor. And they were men, or if they actually were women. I couldn't tell, and I don't know if that's historically accurate or not, or whatever. I don't know, but it's brutal. She if it is a woman, she gets like chopped in half as well, doesn't she? Like one of them. It's horrible.
It's a recreation of the Battle of Carthage. That is.
Well, there's one of my questions gone later on.
Oh dear. Yeah, you need to be smarter than that if you're going to come up with questions. Carthage,
God damn it.
But yeah, it's a recreation of the Battle of Carthage, and I think it's women. I think there's some of the women, but
I think they are as well. Yeah.
this scene has one of those big movie mistakes in it, doesn't it? With one of the chariots. When it tips over.
I've heard of this, yeah.
There's a gas canister in the back which shows as a tip over. It's very, very visible.
Looking for it.
Yeah, really visible. Yeah. I wasn't even looking for it. I just knew it was there in that sequence. But I think once you know, you are looking out for it. Before.
I just forgotten. It's a great sequence there. That whole. I think in general all the action gladiator scenes are really well done.
Could you follow what was going on though at times? Do you think the editing was a little too choppy, or were you happy with how it?
Maybe a little bit, but I wasn't too far about it. I really like the "Oh, you're not entertained" one. There's the tiger fight with what's that guy? The Gaul, that Gaul guy.
Yeah, his name like Tigress Gaul or something, isn't he? It was the one that came out of retirement. Yeah, he was been retired for 5 years.
His armour, like with the face with the tear on it and stuff. But yeah, I liked all the fight. There's always something interesting, like in that one, there's the tigers that keep coming out the floor and surrounding them on chains.
They were real tigers, weren't they? For a lot of those, I think I read that there was 5 tigers, and there was always somebody on hand with tranquilizer darts.
Yeah.
I mean, even at 15 feet away was the distance that they were. I think I'd still be pretty terrified to be having to act.
I guess did they have like a stunt person to have a tiger jump on? Because Russell Crowe gets jumped on by a tiger. I don't know how that was done.
No, I don't either. I'm not sure if it was Crowe himself or whether his stuntman.
I imagine it'd be a stuntman, but was that a real tiger? I don't know. It looked pretty convincing. It looked like a tiger to me. I don't know. Maybe it was like some... I don't know. The camera was a bit like cutting quite fast and stuff, but all that stuff looked really good. I think the effects in general held up really well to me. I could not believe it was 2000.
Yeah, Rome looks like there's a thriving metropolis that it must have been at the time. The Colosseum just looks incredible. They built about a third of it, didn't they? And even then,
that first bit where they come out in the Colosseum and they're all like looking around.
It's like a 360
in the Battle of Carthage. Yeah. Oh, that shot is gorgeous.
Yeah, because you do get that impression that they would have got.
Yeah, you could see that they are in awe, aren't they, when they were in there?
Because before this, their battlegrounds just sand stadiums, hadn't they? There was not a lot of people in them. I think there's a shot in one of the Moroccan ones where it's like really far away and there's people watching it from a hill. I'm like, that's a terrible view. You just wouldn't even be worth watching. I think we were getting on to another character, which you have a story about, don't you? Nothing happened with him and you, but Oliver Reed's Proximo.
Oh, I wish. Yeah, Oliver Reed's Proximo. Well, is it his last film he did? Apparently, like another film afterwards, but it's another kind of historical movie, but I think it's like a direct-to-video kind of thing. Nothing really of note. So this Gladiator is known to be Oliver Reed's last film because he died of a heart attack while they were shooting, and they had to do some like CGI and stuff, didn't they, to finish his scenes?
Yeah.
Some of his remaining scenes, which, again, I could not tell when any CGI was used or anything like that.
I couldn't either. They used a body double in CGI, but I couldn't. I know the rewrites of the film were made because of it.
Do you see him die in the theatrical version?
Yes, you do. Yes, because it's in that
when they attack
towards
the Gladiator
end final.
Yeah. But I don't know where any of the CGI or whatever is used. And for 2000 as well, that's especially impressive because they've tried to do it, haven't they? more obviously they've tried to do it today with stuff like Rogue One, where they bring Peter Cushing back and Carrie Fisher and that, and it just doesn't work for me. It looks bad. But yeah, the Oliver Reed story is literally just the way Oliver Reed died, which sounds really bad, but it is an amazing story, apparently, how he died. Okay, so they were filming Gladiator, obviously, and it was a weekend when he had time off. And he was in a pub in Malta because he was known to be a very heavy drinker. He was all throughout his career. He was a proper hellraiser. So he was in this pub in Malta, and he had apparently downed 8 pints of lager, 12 double rums, and half a bottle of whiskey. So he was completely rat-arsed. And in this pub, after he was completely rat-arsed, he was winning an arm wrestling competition against members of the Royal Navy ship HMS Cumberland, who were obviously like 20, 30 years, his junior. And he was winning against them. And that is when he had a heart attack and collapsed and died, which, I mean, that's a way to go, right? That is.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
That's a good way to go.
Arm wrestling sailors whilst blind drunk.
Yeah. Apparently there's some, people don't know if it's fully true how true that story is. I've heard people doubting it, about how maybe it's been exaggerated in places. But I mean, I don't mind. I'm going with the story because that's a great story, and it does sound like Oliver Reed, and I think there's definitely some truth into it. Whether all of it happened, nobody really knows, but that is the way Oliver Reed died.
Some of you are thinking you won't fight. Some that you can't fight. They all say that until they're out there. Listen. Thrust this into another man's flesh. They will applaud and love you for that. You may begin to love them for that. Ultimately, we're all dead men. Sadly, we cannot choose how, but we can decide how we meet that end in order that we are remembered as men.
Well, they did have a insurance clause. They could have reshot the film and replaced him, and it would have been covered up to the cost of about 25 million. But the schedule that they've had for so far, it was 3 weeks before the end of filming that this happened, and the schedule had already been done outright. Everybody was exhausted, and Scott just wanted to keep Reed in there, so everything up to the point that we see of him in is he's a good character. He plays a great part, and
he's really so
good. That's why they opted for the body double and the CGI. And as we've just said, I can't see any point that it is. Do you know what scenes it is where he's the CGI one? Is it his death scene where they're CGI?
Maybe because his death is shot mostly from behind, isn't it? So maybe that's the body double bit. But I don't know where any CGI is used.
Well, in another draft of the script, it would have been Maximus against Proximo in the arena. But obviously that didn't happen because of his death.
Do you like the way he's introduced?
Those giraffes you sold me, they weren't mate. They just walk around eating and not mating. You sold me queer giraffes.
Yeah. yeah.
It's brilliant. I was like, oh yeah, he's here.
But it's strange how they become friends, really, because he's still an owner of Maximus, isn't he?
Again, it's kind of a bit clunky, isn't it? The script, it sort of just happens because it needs to happen. He needs to sort of win the hearts of the people of Rome. And I feel like the film's a bit at odds with that. It doesn't fully know whether to be this story, which I think is kind of the crux of it, is the sort of battle for the hearts and minds of Rome between Maximus and Commodus. And then also all this like political intrigue stuff where, and I think it leans a bit too heavily into that towards the end. where it's like, he's making all plans to kill these people and take over everything, and then Maximus is making plans to escape and get to his army, and then they're going to come in and do a coup, and I was just like, it's biting off a bit too much. You can't chew it.
Yeah, it really, in the last 30, 40 minutes, it did lose me a lot. I found it quite a struggle to get through in the last. And this should be the time where it's built into this big culmination of Maximus and Commodus. And by this point, I just didn't care. I didn't feel like it was rising any. I didn't feel like the tension was getting any bigger. I didn't feel like it should have been.
Yeah, I was surprised how little I cared about it. Yeah,
I wasn't feeling that I probably should have done with these two characters that we've been watching for at this point near 2 hours to get to this point.
Yeah, the only times where I was really I cared was with the afterlife stuff. At the very end where Maximus dies, and then we see him having the visions of the afterlife and stuff like that. Like that's, and then Hans Zimmer's the famous theme comes on and stuff. That's when I was like getting the goosebumps, and I was like, oh, this is great. But it's like it's literally the very end of the film, and I've not really cared that much up until now. She was good, Connie Nielsen. I couldn't really remember her much before, so I've rewatched it this time. But I think she's one of the best characters in it. I mean, after Joaquin Phoenix and Oliver Reed, I'd put her up further ahead than Maximus as being interesting and likable.
Yeah, same. I would. And Crowe won Best Actor for his performance here, didn't he?
What? Okay, so he won against Tom Hanks for Castaway, Javier Bardem for Before Night, Ed Harris for Pollock, and Jeffrey Rush for Quills. Now, the only film I've seen of them is Pollock, and Ed Harris was amazing in that. He's definitely better than Crowe in this. So I don't know. God knows why he won. Have you seen any of them?
I've seen Castaway.
Yeah.
And I would put Hanks' performance.
Would you give Tom Hanks better? Yeah.
Yeah, it won for visual effects as well, and it was up against The Perfect Storm, which is fine. There's some good stuff in that, and Hollow Man. Yeah, the R-rated Invisible Man riff. Hollow Man.
Yeah. See, I like Hollow Man, and I like the effects on it, but I'd probably give it to Gladiator. I think
I'd give it. I think Gladiator one out of those three with its effects, without a doubt.
Yeah, the effects were brilliant in Gladiator,
and it won for best sound and best costume design.
I thought the costume design was awesome.
Yeah, it certainly did a good job of painting Rome in every way.
Especially Commodus's like that blue outfit that he comes out in at the start. Gorgeous, that is. And like I said, with the armour, the Gaul guy who has the tear mask and everything, and Russell Crowe has that iconic mask, doesn't he, with the spikes on. I think there's a lot of good costume work. There's some of the dresses that Commodus's sister wears are really good.
Did you like the opening battle as much as you remember liking it?
I did, actually. I do think it holds up, that battle. I think it's a good way to open it. I don't know, just got me excited when I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, yes, like big battles are awesome. It looks great. Like again, there's got to be some CGI in there for some of the long shots when there's they're doing all these catapults and everything, but it looks brilliant. And a lot of it is done for real. They've got a hell of a lot of extras. In one of the behind the scenes videos I saw, in that scene alone, there was 2,000 people. And these obviously all needed to be costumed. There was like 250 Germans, or the barbarians, 300 Felix troops, 100 Felix archers, 80 of the cavalry. They had 2,500 weapons, 16,000 arrows for the flaming ones, 10,000 for regular. And obviously doing this every single day. It lasted 20 days. And it was in an area of forestry and Surrey, which was sort of earmarked to get removed anyway. So Scott had convinced them to just let them burn it down. So you say it's CGI. This land was going to get removed anyway, and they just let him go to town on it, and he just fired wherever he could. Cool, yeah. No, I really like that opening. I don't know why that dog's there. Why is that dog there?
Just jumps through the fire.
It's not in the film anywhere else.
Cool
it's just with that shot of the dog jumping through the fire. It's fucking nonsense, that was.
Come
The the music score is Hans Zimmer. It's
Pirates of the Caribbean.
It is a bit, yeah. I never really thought of that. Yeah.
Did you not notice?
Yeah.
I could not stop thinking about it this time. I was watching it. I was like, this sounds so. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of the battle music was like, this sounds so close to Pirates of the Caribbean. The score's actually kind of gone down in my estimation a bit for Gladiator. I was like, this is a bit too.
It'd be the other way around, though, wouldn't it? It'd be the other way around, though, wouldn't it? It'd be Pirates of the Caribbean taking from Gladiator.
When was Pirates out?
Not before 2000.
Oh, yeah,
Pirates
it was about like 2003, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that music suits Pirates more. I think it's a bit too swashbuckly for Gladiator.
Well, Zimmer wrote these pieces for battle in waltz style because he said he wanted to have it sort of this rounded sound where you've got it is upbeat and everything, but there's underneath the surface it brings out this kind of like darker instinct. You wouldn't put a waltz music to a battle. Waltz is kind of supposed to be this beautiful piece where everything's great and fluffy, but he wrote it to the battle. And he says that every battle scene is to a waltz arrangement, which really makes sense. And he says there's not a main theme either. There's 19 pieces of music, and most of them are covered in the first 14 minutes of the film. There's not a main theme to Gladiator.
I always think that people think that the main theme of Gladiator would be that end music, with the woman singing. That's what I think of when I think of Gladiator's music.
I would think more of those battle ones.
What do you think?
Sort of upbeat, yeah.
Yeah, see, I wasn't as big I still think the music was good, but a lot of that battle stuff distracted me this time. I did think it was too. I can see what he said, what he was going for and stuff, but I'm not fully buying it. I don't think it works that well. I think it's a bit too jolly, a bit too upbeat.
The woman that you mentioned in the pieces, her name is Lisa Gerard, and she's from the band. Yeah, she's from the band Dead Can Dance, which has been around since about 1981, and they do a lot of their music is kind of like medieval sounding, and they are quite celebrated artists, and their music is pretty decent. There's a few songs that I've heard before, and I didn't know it was her that did it. For the Morocco scenes, he used an instrument called a duduk, and it's thousands of years old, and it's basically an Armenian clarinet. And it's played by, at the time, he was a 72-year-old man named Jovan Gasparian, I think it's pronounced. This guy doesn't speak a word of English, but he's hugely famous in his own country. He's got his own vodka named after him, and his face is on the inside of the bottle. Zimmer wanted this guy to do this instrument, but the timing was always off, and with wherever he lived, he couldn't go there. I think it was, they said it was Armenia. I think he lived, or just in the middle of nowhere. And
right,
he ended up traveling to Los Angeles. Zimmer says on a whim, but you don't travel to Los Angeles on a whim.
I'm going tomorrow. Don't know what you're talking about.
Be the only person that could play this instrument just happens to be in Los Angeles. Of course, it was arranged, but that's not a fun story, though, is it? No. But yeah, and he says that those scenes, they wanted to be more tribal than the battle scenes.
I like that stuff more. I like that stuff more than the bombastic, swashbuckly, music.
No, I really enjoy the score in general. I enjoy all the score.
I think it's good. Like, I could listen to it and I think it's good music, but I think it was distracting in the film. For me this time anyway. Not all of it, just some of that stuff.
So he got sued in 2006 because the Holst estate claimed that his music in this film sounded too similar to Mars from the Planet Suite. As far as I'm aware, it didn't go through. It didn't go through. It wasn't successful. But it took them like 6 years to hear this music and then sue him for it. So I think that's why it didn't go anywhere.
Did you get the scene of Commodus smashing up the bust of his father?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Whereabouts was that?
Middle-ish. It was a good little scene, though. Basically, he goes, it's after Maximus reveals himself in the Colosseum. He goes down into this crypt area where there's all these, bust statues of all the great emperors of Rome. And there's a new one there, new bust of his father. And he goes down there with a sword and basically starts berating him and shouting at him like he's being haunted from the grave by him. And he takes a sword and starts hacking up this bust whilst crying his eyes out. It's a good scene.
There's another scene with Commodus where, it's just after that actually. And
yeah,
he's writing on something. He's sat at a desk and when he's found out that Maximus is still alive, he's just very calmly is like, this vexes me. I'm terribly vexed.
I like that. Yeah, that was good.
But then in a later scene, he is trying to say how merciful he is.
Oh, and then he screams at her.
You will love me as I loved you. You will provide me with an heir of pure blood so that Commodus and his progeny will rule for 1,000 years. Am I not merciful? Am I not merciful?
He did it on a thingy, didn't he? That was just ad-libbed.
Yeah, so she just looked scared, and I'd be scared if Phoenix is yelling in your face.
Tell you what, the backgrounds are good in this film, though. We've talked about how extras are just everywhere or whatever, just on the streets of Rome, everywhere, that all the stuff in, is it Morocco or Malta or wherever where they shot?
Both.
It's just people everywhere. The backgrounds are great. Unlike Last Airbender, as you pointed out, there's just always stuff going on, and they're I could look at it forever.
Yeah, in Rome, where they've got the sort of plays
in the street of what's going on in the Colosseum, and it does feel like a real proper city.
What did you think of Russell Crowe's snot acting?
Where he kisses the feet,
Yeah.
being one. Yeah. I didn't connect at all really emotionally with it, and I knew it was coming, but there was certain point. I think there was a time where he said just about to die, and he's reaching out in real life to things that you can see in the afterlife, and it just felt really hokey more than anything. I didn't feel like, oh, this guy is really sad and he's going to the afterlife. It just felt like it was overacting. It was too much overacting for me.
I quite liked him in that. I was all for the snot acting. I was like, hell yeah. Yeah, originally it was planned that he'd just be like crying, but not like blubbering or whatever, and they changed it. Russell Crowe apparently told Ridley Scott he should be absolutely destroyed, he should be a mess. So they went for the full-on snot acting, which I do actually like. I like him in that scene. I know what you mean, like I wasn't super moved by it or anything, but I was more moved, I don't know, I had more emotions stirring at least than the rest of his kind of stony performance. I mean, does this count as a film where you actually get to see a kid die on screen? Kind of.
It is pretty brutal though, isn't it? The death of the kid.
I don't know how they did that. How did they do that? Is that CG? Because it looks bloody real. I remember I saw this film quite young, like too young. I think it was probably first time I ever saw it on TV. I must have been about 8 years old or something. I remember that bit always used to not scare me. I don't know what the word is. Disgust, I guess. I don't know. I had a reaction to it as a kid. I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. I guess because I was a kid as well. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen that before, like a kid dying.
And just showing the feet of his husband and wife
all
as well.
Black and charred.
It was done again in a film very, very recently, which I won't reveal because it's major spoiler. But it's used to a much greater effect than it is here because it pretty much just comes out of nowhere. But if you've seen the film, you'll know which one I'm talking about. I'm guessing you haven't seen it.
I don't think so. I can't think. We can't say. We'll have to talk about it when we're not on this.
No.
Off record. The Road, the 2009 film, also has a shot like that. It's not super spoilery though. They're just kind of randos, the people that are hung.
So where does this rate for you in Scott's catalogue?
I don't know now, because it was really high, but I don't know what I really think about Scott as a whole. He made Alien and it's like a masterpiece, and Blade Runner I really like. But he's very hit and miss. I think this is definitely one of his better films for sure. And I do feel like we're sounding quite harsh on the film. I do think it's still overall very good film actually, but it wasn't as good as I remembered it being. So I think it's one of his better films for sure, but definitely not his best. What about you?
I'd still put it probably higher than a lot, because more recently he's just sort of been, he feels like he's just been churning them out, and there hasn't been not a lot of memorable stories that he's been
Martian, which everyone
giving.
raved about. It's like I remember liking it, but I don't have much memory about it now. It's not really stuck with me.
I think it's certainly up there as visually one of his best. Production wise, certainly one of his best.
He's very visually, isn't he? Like his production look amazing. Like Prometheus looks incredible.
Yeah, well, but I can't. I mean, most of them do. We're talking about Martian. We're looking at Mars on there. Kingdom of Heaven. One of the best things of that was how it looked as well. Blade Runner is a genre-defining film for how it looks in terms of sci-fi. It's basically an updated Metropolis, isn't it?
He did
from
a
like
lot of
the
work in
20s.
advertising, didn't he? Before he got into films, I think that's where he got. He worked so much just making like adverts for TV and stuff like that. I think he really cut his teeth there and just knows how to make things look good.
Yeah. I think here, for me, the script really lets it down because there are some good performances. I think Phoenix really did get screwed out of an Oscar here. It's not always about Oscars, but I think he should have had some kind of reward for his work here. or been acknowledged more than just being a nominee.
Yeah.
Crow. Well, it made a star of Crow, didn't it, this one? I think just before this, it was LA Confidential, wasn't it? Which she was really, really good in as well.
I think this really shot him super mainstream, doesn't it? This one, he was like, everyone sort of knew him.
This is the role he'll be probably forever remembered for. This is his defining role. And
I do think it's a very influential film, like, as we've seen, with other historical films that have come after it. I don't think I've ever quite departed from the Gladiator kind of formula, or at least the look, that much, which is kind of a shame. But
no, I think Troy is a big. It's hugely influenced by Gladiator in almost every way. I mean, I look at Troy and it's like, this looks like it's been made by the same people, but Alexander was the other one, wasn't it, with Colin Farrell? Even
stuff like Black Death, the Sean Bean film. Like, just the look of it, it's got that gritty historical look that Gladiator has. So I do think it's an important film, an important modern film, something that everyone should see. You might really love it. I thought I really loved it, and I still do like it. I feel like we are being kind of harsh, but it's just not. I thought it was amazing, and I've rewatched it, and I'm like, oh, it's not amazing. It's good, but it's not amazing.
So out of 10, what we go for?
I'm going for a 7. It was a 9, I had it as a 9. I really did, I loved it last time I saw it. What's your score? Come on.
I'm going to go with the 7 as well, I think.
7?
I thought I was on the fence with it being either a 6 or a 7, but...
That's fair.
7. I think the way it looks really elevates it above a lot of anything that's similar to it. It just looks incredible, I think.
Yeah. And I think for being as impactful as the film has been as well, I think there is something to that.
So with the film itself out of the way, let's get some questions rolling.
Quiz time. It's me first, isn't it? I ask first.
It is you.
Okay, get ready for these easy questions. You ready?
Go.
Question 1. What is Maximus's ritual before fighting?
Picks up soil from the ground, or any kind of whatever the earth is, picks it up and rubs it and feels it.
Correct. Rubs dirt.
Do you know why that is?
Fingers. No. He really likes. He loves nature. He's a vegan.
Because he is a farmer. I'll finish your question with a bit of trivia. That's how much I know your questions. I'm going to get this next one wrong, aren't I? Go.
Okay. No, well, you've already got the second question right, because it was the Battle of Bloody Carthage.
Oh. So that's 2 already then, isn't it? Can I go?
Sure, why not? Okay, question 3. Who says the line, "Today I saw a slave become more powerful than the Emperor of Rome"?
You know that my Achilles heel is quotes.
Is it that? Well, I didn't know that, but now I do. Oh, no. You're getting quotes every time.
My kryptonite. Well, it's not going to be Commodus because he is the Emperor. He doesn't talk to us about himself in third person. I'm going to say Lucilla.
Correct.
Oh, God.
Nice.
Oh, it was between her or the senator, and I don't remember his name. So I'm glad it is.
Yeah, nice. That was a good one. Good deduction. I've got final question because I have 4 questions.
Go.
What popular UK comedian makes an appearance next to Oliver Reed?
I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. Omar Jalili.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's close enough.
You know what I mean.
I think you pronounce it Omid Jalili.
Omid.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
I said Omar.
Omid Jalili.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one who asks. He asks about the. He's the one selling the slaves, isn't he? Yeah.
He sold the drafts to Oliver Reed as well. The gay drafts.
Yeah. So that's 4.
They're my questions. You got them all. You got them all. Gladiator King.
You ready for mine?
Yeah, I'm ready to get 0.
Question 1. When was the last time Maximus was home?
Oh, what? He said something ridiculous like 2 years, 264 days. I'm going to go with that. 2 years, 264 days.
I'll give you that. That'll be a correct answer because it's 2 years, 264
How
days,
close?
and this morning. So he finishes saying, and this
I can't
morning.
believe I still got
So
that from memory. He does
you
say
did.
it twice. Does he say it twice?
Yeah, and then it's said again in like the clip voiceover when he's dying, I think.
Shit, that's weird muscle memory, isn't it? How that works sometimes.
What is being thrown to the crowd before one of the Colosseum fights?
Thrown into the crowd?
Yeah.
Not onto the gladiators themselves.
No, the people that it's.
Damn.
I'm giving you clues here. It's something that Commodus does to try and get people to like him.
Oh shit! This should be really obvious. I mean, it's just
this was my easy question.
Yeah, it's probably something that I was just sort of blanking out of the film at this point because like nothing super interesting is happening. Like it's just establishing shots of the Colosseum, so I wasn't that paying super attention. I remember like petals and stuff being like, but that was more on the gladiators were getting like thrown down. And why would people like having petals thrown on anyway? Oh, hang on. I've got a feeling it's bread.
You've got a feeling now that you've delayed it and you're typing into your little...
It's bread, isn't it?
It's bread, correct.
Yeah.
It's bread.
Yes.
You're on a roll here.
Yes, I can't believe it.
I'm going to have to up my questions here.
No, these are good questions. These are like... not super easy. I'm having to actually think about this.
Okay.
It helps that I did see this film today. We've both watched this film today at the same time, rather than me watching it like 4 days ago and forgetting everything.
So I have 2 more questions. We'll go 4, yeah? 4 for 4.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Question 3.
God, I've got to get them all.
I know. What are the letters tattooed on Maximus's arm?
Oh, yeah. No, this is where it comes crashing down. I didn't pay attention to it. I knew about the tattoo. I knew it was some numerals, but have I just got to get the number, or like have I got to say the numerals?
It's not a number.
Oh, well, that's good, isn't it?
It's 4 letters that don't add up to a number.
I thought it was his regiment or something tattooed on his arm. Glory to Rome.
No, incorrect on that. The letters
in
are
the ballpark.
The letters are SPQR, and it stands for Senatus Populus Romanus, which translates as the Senate and the Roman people.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What a dumb tattoo.
So incorrect.
You need to go on tattoo fixes.
Right, for question 4, you can either have a relatively easy one or a scene pause one.
I should have both.
You want both?
Give me both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should get 2 points for that bloody first question.
In the opening battle, what is the number on the stick next to Oliver Reed's character, where he's waiting on the hill and his regiment thing is next to him?
Opening battle with Oliver Reed in there?
Not Oliver Reed.
What about Richard Harris?
Richard Harris. Shall I start that question again?
Richard Harris. No, we're keeping your mistakes in, boy.
Is this what happens when I get all the questions? You have to keep the mistakes
usually
in.
He edits all his own mistakes out, and I'm not letting it happen. We'll say it again then and say it properly. What's the number on what?
What's the number on the stick next to Richard Harris's character?
I remember the stick. I remember Richard Harris. Don't remember the number. 12.
Incorrect.
I had a feeling there was an X and something else.
It's Pretoria XIV, so it's Pretoria 14.
Close-ish.
Do you want your final question?
Yeah.
Okay. What does Maximus's home smell of in the morning?
Ooh, there's something that he smells of in the morning and then something in the evening.
Yes, there is.
Oh, one of them's jasmine, I think.
One of them is jasmine.
I think that's the evening one, though. No. It definitely smells like jasmine in the evening. Oh, fuck. You did say morning, didn't you?
I said morning, yeah.
That smells in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, bastard. I'm going to have to end up saying jasmine because I can't think of anything else. Because imagine that if I didn't say it and it was bloody jasmine. Oh, shit. Jasmine, and it's definitely jasmine in the evening. What other bloody spices are there? It's not fucking garlic. It's not. Nope. I'll just have to go with jasmine. I think that's the evening one, though.
It's jasmine in the evening.
Yeah.
Herbs in the morning.
Oh, just herbs?
Just herbs.
Oh, god damn. I thought it was something more specific.
No. So 2 out of 4, which is an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm coming. Coming for you.
When I get 4 out of 4, though, then...
They were better questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My questions are on point as always.
So there's another quiz in the bag, which means it's time to reveal what we will be tackling next week. And this is Oliver's choice, so I'll let him introduce it.
Yeah, boy. So next time we are going to be watching and talking about a Walter Hill film, The Warriors. Classic cult film. Sean's never seen it.
I've not seen this one, so it'll be entirely new territory for me.
He's in for a treat, and so are you.
But until then, we'd love to hear your opinions on the episode and the film. So you can drop us an email, streetlight@review-avenue.co.uk, or you could message us on Facebook in the Review Avenue Facebook page. Drop us a tweet @review_avenue. Send me a message, Sean Burton. Or, as always...
Leave me alone. Does that mean we got no feedback for the last episode? Requiem.
I don't think we did, no. Which is very disappointing. It's disappointing and sad. And
come on, guys.
Let us know what you think.
The Airbender one were great. We're like...
Yeah, we want... It's as much as your show as it is ours. Because without you guys, I've just got to talk to Oliver for an hour and a half, which
that's
draining.
It's brutal, isn't it? Yeah.
It's horrible. So send us your opinion so I can deflect away from him for a bit.
Yeah, so we can... you're still going to be talking to me.
Yeah. But for now, it's time to turn out the light.
Ding.